Well, jury selection begins for a Wabash Valley murder trial that is decades in the making.
In 1979, police found Kathy Jo Baker killed in her home near Riley, Indiana. The attack also injured her young son. For years, the case went cold until 2010. That's when a new tip and new DNA evidence led police to charge this man, Richard Boswell, with the murder. Jury selection started this afternoon and arguments could begin tomorrow. Of course, News 10 will follow that trial for you and bring you the very latest.
But while investigators believe they've solved this cold case, there are, of course, other cases that are still mysterious. That got us wondering just what is a cold case and how can you help solve them?
For the answers, we turn to News 10's Joe Ostrowski for more. Joe, first off, what exactly makes up a cold case?
Well, there are three aspects to this the police tell us make a case cold. One is that there is no new information coming in about that case, no new tips. The other is that the evidence that they've already collected has already been reviewed and gone through. And on top of that, despite all that review, despite that lack of new evidence, there just aren't any suspects, and that is what leads a case to become cold.
What happens once that happens?
Well, it depends on the agency that's handling the situation, handling the case. But Indiana State Police tell us that they routinely, in fact every 6 months, will go through each of the cold cases they have.
Okay.
We'll review, look and see if there's any new information, any new tips that could lead to an arrest or new information in that case.
Okay.
And of course, what we really have to pay attention to here, and we saw it as you described in this case, tips are essential. And police say that oftentimes people in some of these cold cases that have been cold for many years are afraid to come forward and bring those tips. But officials tell us, and we have some information on that here, that even those smallest of tips can make a big difference. Here's what they had to say.
Sometimes people don't want to provide information because they're afraid if it's not important that it'll be embarrassing for them, and that's totally not the case. We take the smallest of smallest tips and let us decide.
Now, Sergeant Joe Watts from the State Police says that often those small details are enough to give a little bit of a window there so the police know what to look for and exactly where to look.
Well, and people need to remember, too, that even though it's been years, that small information may be very important now to
Absolutely. Date. Absolutely. Can lead in an entirely new direction and bring new information and maybe some closure for some of these families that are dealing with these cold cases.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe.